Hi, I'm clinical psychologist Dr. Ali Matu, and I put everything I use to emotionally cope with this post-pandemic world we live in this bag. It's like my emotional first aid kit. I'm going to walk you through what's in here, how I use it, and help you make your own coping kit in this video. Let's start by talking about what coping is and how I decided what goes in this bag. For me, coping is about a skill that helps you to be in the situations you want to be in and remain flexible. That flexibility part is really important. There's a lot of stuff out there that might help you to get through a situation, but it might close your options. For me, a coping skill expands your options. It helps you to remain flexible. It helps you to be able to participate in that situation in a number of different ways. Rule number 2 for me is a lot of stuff I put in this bag, I didn't want it to have an on-off switch. Because for me, if I'm really struggling with something and the batteries die, that's not a good scenario. And the last thing here is the reason why I put everything in a bag. Well, first off, I don't even use this backpack anymore. I don't really go outside much, so what am I going to do with the backpack? But the other reason why I put it all in one place is because when I'm emotionally struggling, I don't have a lot of time to think about what do I do, how do I cope. I need to be able to go and use my stuff, know where it is, and not to have to think through how do I deal with the situation, just have my skills ready to go. Let's start with the essentials. These aren't necessarily things I use to cope in the moment, but they are things that when I do them, it sets me up for success down the road. It makes it easier for me to cope with the stuff that might come up later on, hours from now or in the next day, all that kind of stuff. And the biggest thing for me is sleep. I've struggled with a lot of insomnia post-pandemic. I made a video all about how I was trying to overcome my insomnia. And this tip I actually got from a YouTube commenter. I'm gonna hopefully paste that down over here. So thank you to the member of the Psyche that left me this tip. But it's a sleep mask. And not just any type of sleep mask. This is a sleep mask that actually has a Bluetooth headphone built into it. So what I do is I put this on at night, and when I'm really struggling with insomnia, I can have some white noise, some relaxing white noise. Specific for me is I listen to the warp core sound from Star Trek The Next Generation. It kind of soothes me to sleep, and this also has a timer built in so it can turn off after a period of time. This really helps me. It doesn't necessarily help me, the sound helps me to fall asleep, but the reason why the mask is so important is a lot of times in the early morning hours I wake up early, and this helps me to fall asleep so I don't have as much light coming in and waking me up. When I get better quality sleep, I'm able to deal with my emotions better the next day. My attention's better. My ability to deal with stress is better. I just feel more energy. So sleep, sleep, sleep. Number 1 coping skill for me. I've got my lactates to make sure I don't have problems in that department. Sometimes I miss meals. I don't eat as much, so I always make sure I have some bananas handy. It's kind of like nature's fast food for me. It gives me some quick energy. If I've fallen behind on my meals, it really helps me to just keep going. Water has been a big one for me. Halfway through the year, I started to notice some muscle twitching, and I asked my doctor what's going on, and what he said is you're probably dehydrated. You're not drinking enough water. And what I noticed is I was drinking a lot more coffee, but I wasn't necessarily getting as much water as I need, and I was drinking the coffee because I was dealing with a lot of insomnia. So I always keep one of these near me just as a reminder to drink more water, to stay hydrated, because if I get dehydrated, I really get cranky and then nothing is really good. This big thing right over here, this is both something that helps me to deal with future stuff, but it also helps me to cope in the moment. And this is a back roller. I never had one of these pre-pandemic, but I've found that because I'm home and sitting down so much, I get a lot more back pain than I used to. And so I keep this nearby, and about 2 times a day, once in the middle of the day and once at night, I just kind of roll on top of this. Let's talk about worries. I get a lot of them throughout the day. I have a hard time managing all these worries. A big part of it is the news and information and social media that's just pumping me full of really anxious thoughts. So how do I deal with this? Well, I've got this zipper right over here. A lot of times what I do when I need to get a lot of work done is I just take my phone and I physically put it away. I put it somewhere where I can't access it. Just having it in my pocket, even if I've turned off all my notifications, which I have, except for direct messaging kind of stuff, just having it in my phone still makes me want to check it. And so I found the best way to deal with that is just physically putting it out of the way. My post-it notes. What I do is I mark down the category of goals that I have every morning and how much time I want to spend on them. I don't know if you can see that. Hopefully you can. What I have right over here is a list of my goals. Health, that's some exercise, writing emails, work, connecting with people, and me time. That's just stuff I do for fun. And I put this on my laptop and I time myself. I do these, I'm a big fan of the Pomodoro technique. And every time I time myself, and after I've completed a certain interval of time, I just mark that off. And it's great for me to see this progress happening. And because I have this on my laptop, it keeps me focused on the stuff I need to get done. There's other times when I want to relax, and maybe I have a hard time relaxing because of all those worries. So I've got stuff for that too. The first is I think everyone needs a hobby they can really pour themselves into. And for me, that new hobby that's been a lot of fun has been this. This is Star Trek Adventure. Uh-oh, something's leaking. That's not good. Oh, it's my tea. My matcha tea leaked. For me, Star Trek Adventures, this is a role-playing game that I play with a few friends of mine. I've never done it before. It's like Dungeons and Dragons, but for Star Trek. We do it once a week, and whenever I'm really overwhelmed with worries, I can always kind of go to this and read through the book or work on my character or think about what I want to be doing the next time we're hanging out and playing this game. So this has been a ton of fun. I want to share a few things that make me feel good about myself. And the first one is this. This is beard oil. I rub this into my beard, and it does help to soften my beard and make me feel a little bit just more smooth. But the reason I really like this one is it just smells so good. The flavor is called Wood and Spice. It smells like the best barbershop that you've ever been in. The other thing I love is my pomade. I put this on in the morning, even if I'm not going out anywhere. It just makes me feel like I'm put together. And if I catch a glimpse of myself while I'm walking through the home, I can just be like, hey, my hair is looking nice today. Even when it's set like this, or even when it's a little bit more kind of rough, the pomade just helps things to feel like they're kind of put together. There's a few things I do when I want to bring down the intensity of my emotions really quickly. This is called distress tolerance. And one of the first ones here is changing my body's temperature. That really helps me. So if I'm not in a position to go take a cold shower, a warm shower, or do the dive reflex technique, which I talk about in this video right over here, I have this eye mask that I can just toss it in the freezer for a little bit, and I put on, and it just really is very soothing. I probably look really funny right now, but this really helps me to just bring down some of the intensity of the emotions I might be feeling. If I'm feeling intense urges to snack a lot, I've put on a good chunk of weight in the pandemic. I'm trying to get healthier. A big one for me is gum. If I chew intense flavored gum, it makes me feel like I'm eating something without putting on a lot of calories. It satisfies that urge for me to snack, and it kind of makes me feel something very different. The smell is like a mouthwash from your dentist. So it's not like it's the tastiest scent, but it does snap me into feeling something very different. I've got this journal right over here, and I don't journal every day. I only journal when I need it. And what I mean by that is stuff I really want to think through. What I do is I spend about 15 to 20 minutes really diving into it. I like to do where's my pen? I like to do pen and paper because it just slows down my thinking because I'm so slow at writing than I am typing. So that really helps. And if it's something I really want to keep, then I'll port it over to my journal. I use Day One as my app to get everything in sync. But I'll write about stuff that I really want to think through and I'm really struggling with, and stuff that might be very hard for me to write about. These are my favorite memories from the before times, specifically 2019. My close friends who I'm really close with, I can always kind of reach out to them when I need to. How moving to California brought my daughter and her cousins together and how much she enjoys that. Going to see the Space Shuttle Enterprise with some of our really close friends. It reminds me of who's in my life that I can reach out to. It also reminds me, how can I recreate some of these experiences with these people that I'm really close to distantly? In here, I wrote a letter to my future self. I wrote this probably during one of the hardest periods of the pandemic for me. We lost childcare. I was overwhelmed. I was stressed. And this is something that really helped me in the moment to just write a letter to my future self. And it's specifically my future self is going to read this when the pandemic has ended. I have no idea when that's going to be. But writing about the future and writing a letter to my future self, it clarified what my values are right now, and it also gave me some hope that at some point in the future we will get through this, and I look forward to reading this. I kind of remember a little bit of what I wrote, but not everything. When my mood is low and I don't know what to do, I've got no energy, I go for these cards. These are my quick wins. So on each of these cards, I've written something down that I can always do, and it helps me to build momentum to do more stuff, and it makes me feel like I've accomplished something. So 30 minutes of responding to DMs and comments. I get a lot from you all, can't get to all of them, but sometimes just marking out 30 minutes makes me feel more connected to this whole psyche community. Vacuuming is something I love doing. It makes me feel so good, like I've accomplished something. Like, stuff is dirty, I vacuum, and it's not dirty anymore, and it looks better. Feels so good to me. I love doing it. My favorite form of stress relief is right here, my bicycle helmet. I love riding my bike. It brings me so much joy. It makes me feel like a kid again. I just really enjoy going on a bike ride, either by myself or with my daughter. We've got a child seat right on the back with her, and the two of us have so much fun, and I just love exploring. It also feels like a much safer activity. Gets me out of the home. I love it. It's my favorite thing. It's very hard for me to read nowadays, but audiobooks are really helpful for me, and especially with all of the protests that have been happening, the tragic killings that have been happening, the police brutality. I've been listening to this book, So You Want to Talk About Race by Ijoma Oluo. This book is awesome, and it's so practical. One of the things I've learned from this book is how if I experience or notice something that's discriminatory, how to speak up. What I do in my Day One app, in my journal app, is I save screenshots of emails and comments and messages that I get from you expressing your thanks for something you watched and how it impacted your life in some kind of positive way. Those comments mean the world to me. They so help me to feel hope and motivation to keep going, and they also make me feel like there's stuff I'm doing that's putting something positive out into the world and making some type of real difference right now. It helps me to remember what I can control and how I can do some good. And the most recent one that's really helped me is I posted on social media and on my community tab on this channel about how much my mental health was just devastated by the wildfires in California and how hard it was dealing with those wildfires with the pandemic happening. Your comments were so amazing and so helpful and just gave me connection, gave me support, and made me feel like I can get through this. And so thank you for that. What goes in your post-pandemic emotional coping kit? Let me know in the comments below. If you want to learn more about coping in these strange, uncertain times we're living in, check out this playlist. I've got a lot more videos about mental health during the coronavirus pandemic.